Chapter 22 Farewell to Langlang Village. The next day, Han Yi went to the government office to hand over his servitude document, formally declaring that he had left his slave status and was now a civilian of Great Zhou. Since then, his life once again resumed the monotonously predictable routine. The only difference from before was the addition of a fox. The entrance examination to the Dragon Sparrow sect was only 2.5 months away. As such, Han Yi initiated a frenzy to collect attributes. Every day, he would stroll around the village to see where he could pick up attributes. But his harvest was limited. Even Widow Liu, the only reliable source of attributes, had moved to the county. His plan to promote the Wei Wu legacy was declared a failure. The only attribute he gained recently was from a private school in the county of Skyfire, which he obtained when he delivered goods to the county. Slightly versed in literature and ink white, you have a superior comprehension, making occurrences hard to forget. The private school teacher was lecturing on fundamental principles in books, and a student who seemed to have a realization dropped a ball of white light from his body. Han Yi just happened to pick it up. Beyond this, the only stable source of extraction was from Wang Daniu. Dragon Tiger Physique could see a stable increase of a few points every day. Unparalleled Fist Intent was incredibly difficult to extract because Liu Linky didn't want to practice fists with him at all. And attempting to use other martial artists' Exquisite Fist Intent to fortify the skill was also exceedingly challenging. Due to the attribute upgrade, the lower level attribute needs 5 times more to add a point to the higher level attribute. For instance, Strong as an Ox would need 5 points to add 1 point to Dragon Tiger Physique. They were not on the same scale. In the past 2 months, Han Yi had been challenging the martial artists of the manor to spar every day, which allowed him to increase a considerable amount of attributes. But things changed now. Those guys had become scared. In Liu Manor, no one dared to practice fists with Han Yi, including Liu Linky. The increasing number of rejections left Han Yi helpless. Exquisite Fist Intent 1 to 6500, your speed of practicing fist techniques is beyond normal, resulting in an excellent mastery and understanding of the intent. This attribute remained unmoved, stuck around 100. Besides, Dragon Tiger Physique, the growth of the other attributes had stalled. The most outrageous of all was the Great Wealth and High Rank attribute dropped from Liu Manor's master. It barely dropped a few points in a month. It took him almost half a month to collect just 10 points. After months of observation, Han Yi summed up some experiences on attribute collection. His conclusions are as follows. Firstly, the more powerful a person is, the more powerful the attributes they drop. The initial level is often very high. Usually it's their most prominent aspect, whether it is ability or talent. This is the most critical. Secondly, if you want to keep upgrading an attribute, it depends on what it is. If it's Great Wealth and High Rank, which rarely triggers and has a low probability of dropping, you better abandon the idea. If it's Strong as an Ox, it will easily drop because it triggers frequently. Lastly, don't just rely on attributes dropping randomly. You must guide and trigger it multiple times. This is the most reliable method. The above are Han Yi's insights. At the same time, he realized that he might not be able to stay in Langlang Village any longer. If he continues to stay in Langlang Village, he would definitely not be able to collect powerful attributes. Training in winter helps, training in summer assists. Spring arrived, and everything brightly revived. Another 2 months passed. Holding the Danshin alone, adjusting and controlling Danshin. The human body is like a tripod. The purer your state of mind is, the purer the key. At the crowing of the cock, Han Yi was already practicing in the inner courtyard. Standing on a wooden stake with 1 foot, squatting with his toes pointing upwards, and his arms in a Buddha-like position, his mind unified with his movements, he muttered under his breath. After a while, he straightened his spine and changed foot. This was his daily mandatory exercise, which required a lot of physical strength, all for the sake of feeling the flow of blood. The blood would rush to his head, and when he stood up, it would flow down at such a fast speed that a normal person could not bear it. Yet, Han Yi could squat on the wooden stake for several hours, doing this repeatedly just to feel the changes in his blood. After soaking in the secret medicine day after day, his blood had begun to transform. Though it hadn't yet condensed into a mercury-like state, its weight had substantially increased. Whoosh, whoosh, the blood was rushing through his meridians, and the sound was thunderous. Han Yi could hear it clearly. The characteristic of internal power was solid and steady. It was weak in the beginning compared to external martial arts, but strong in the end. After 2 months, he had gained a complete understanding of the blood marrow realm. He was determined to make a breakthrough in the 4th phase of body forging. Without any hesitation, Han Yi recited the essentials of forging body for meridians continuously, focusing his thoughts on the inside of his body. And thus, he found himself in a strange state. As if he was in a void where the space-time continuum ceased to exist, his only option was to break through. Buzz, buzz, buzz! His stanchion vibrated slightly, in and out, forming a strand of faint key sensation. It gradually accelerated in a cyclic pattern. 1 cycle, 2 cycles it was growing rapidly. Originally invisible to the naked eye, it ultimately condensed into strands of white gas. Although it seemed thin, it was heavily purified and compressed. The white gas bristled with vitality like a budding shoot in early spring, capable of bearing endless hopes and growing into a towering tree. Huff, Hanya started to breathe unconsciously. His seemingly ordinary breath was actually steady and powerful. The white gas seeped into the marrow and accompanied the heavy flow of blood thudding against the artery walls. After an unknown amount of time, Han Yi opened his eyes, a sharp glint in them. The 4th level of blood marrow success. After several months of relentless efforts, he had finally broken through the final stage of the body forging realm. And he had started to cultivate true Qi. It was thanks to this wrinkle of true Qi that I managed to break through the blood marrow realm. Upon probing his inner body, Han Yi found that this wisp of true Qi was still flowing softly and circulating within his body. The changes are too drastic. Han Yi couldn't help but sigh. He had felt all the changes within his body. Hearing, sight, and other 5 senses and 6th sense had all become exceedingly sharp. Under the rising sun, when the sky was not yet fully lit, he could clearly see the patterns on the leaves of a distant willow tree. As Liu Linky said, if one's internal Qi is like a cup of water small and stagnant, it's considered the first level of Qi cultivation. Han Yi mobilized the little true Qi he had. The Qi that was originally depleted was doused with gasoline, like it was ignited with a match, and flowed along his meridians to his arms. Bang! A huge sound, carrying a residual image that is invisible to the naked eye, struck the air. A hit into the void compressed all the surrounding air, exploding violently. Boom! In the blink of an eye, a deep fist mark was left on a distant willow tree, splitting the tree trunk. Creak! In a short while, the willow tree fell to the ground. Han Yi was secretly amazed at this sight. Amazing, too strong. This must be Qi force. Han Yi felt the rushing wind against his ears, staring at his fist in disbelief. The power was much greater compared to relying solely on human strength. At this moment, Wang Daniu walked out of the arched door in a daze and sat down on a stone chair by the artificial mountain. Seeing the expression on his face, Han Yi asked, puzzled, Daniu, what's wrong? In his memory, Daniu was always an optimistic, positive person. He rarely looked like he did today. Wang Daniu sighed deeply, speaking in the local dialect he always used, saying, today, I agreed with Hong Liu to watch the sunrise together, and she said yes. Isn't that good then? Han Yi laughed. Wang Daniu said dispiritedly, I couldn't control my feelings for a moment and told Hong Liu that I liked her, but she rejected me. Han Yi asked with confusion, she rejected you? Why? You are in such a good condition. You are now a guard of Liu Manor, your monthly salary is also higher than that of those rich families, right? Wang Daniu spoke in a trembling voice with a tone Han Yi had never heard before. She said she and I are not from the same world. This? Hearing this, Han Yi fell silent for a moment. Brother Han, do you think I should go out and take a chance? Is she looking down on me? Suddenly Wang Daniu looked at Han Yi and said with distress, I want to leave Langlang Village. Hearing this, Han Yi smiled reassuringly. Daniu, when a person has ideals, they often need to leave their hometown. Your idea is not wrong. It's time to leave Langlang Village.